Hello, I'm Kit.
And I'm Jamarius.
And welcome to Lesson 5 of our Huntsville.
Today you'll find out why cotton was so important to the South and to Huntsville.
Today's vocabulary words that you need to look for are cash crops,
Cotton boll,
food crops,
Eli Whitney,
slaves,
mill village,
cotton gin,
factory and mill.
And now here's our host, Tim Hall, with your lesson.
Thanks, kids. Now, many of you should know what this is. It's a cotton plant. The red soil, long hot summers, and good climate of North Alabama created the perfect environment for the growing of cotton. Cotton has provided man with food, clothing, and shelter for thousands of years. Once the early settlers of northern Alabama established homesteads and cleared fields, they started growing cash crops. Cash crops are crops farmers can sell. Food crops are used to feed the family and livestock. The extra money families made by selling cotton helped pay off land debts and build strong investments. Farmers usually plant cotton seeds at the end of May or early June to make sure there's enough time to grow strong, hardy plants. The seedlings push through the soil about 3 weeks after they are planted. The young seedlings stretch toward the sun and within 6 to 8 weeks break through the topsoil. The young cotton plants produce tiny buds. Soon the buds bloom into white or cream flowers, but these blooms don't last long. They quickly turn pink or red and fall off the plant. What's left forms a tiny pod or boll. The boll is the most useful piece of the cotton plant. Inside, rich seeds and thick fibers form. After a few weeks of warm sunshine, the bolls begin to stretch, revealing the strong white fibers inside. Farmers often remove the leaves of the cotton plant to prevent the fibers from becoming tarnished or stained. Depending on the particular growing season and the weather, farmers start harvesting their cotton in September or October. Huge machines plow through the fields collecting the bursting bolls.
It's a long process and it's lengthy, but it's pretty somewhat stressful. If things don't cooperate with you, sometimes you have too much rain, sometimes you won't have enough. And there's a lot of variables in raising a cotton crop.
When the early pioneers grew cotton in northern Alabama, they didn't have a giant tractor or special combine. People had to pick each cotton boll by hand. It was back-breaking work that was tedious and tough. Most cotton farmers didn't try to clear the land themselves. Many owned slaves and forced them to do the work.
My name is Charity Withers. In 1812, I was born a slave in Huntsville, Alabama, and belonged to the Daniel Coleman family. I posed for a famous artist who specialized in paintings of black slaves. I am buried in the Glenwood Cemetery, a cemetery for early African Americans from Huntsville.
Slavery was a way of life for Huntsville. Cotton growers used slavery to continue the prosperous industry. Slaves planted the seeds, plowed the fields, picked the bolls, and cleared the cotton. It was too expensive to try and hire workers to pick cotton. Today, farmers clear fields in a day that would have taken their predecessors weeks to complete.
This is the way we used to pick cotton back in 1900 up to 1960, and maybe 65. But after about 1965 or 70, people quit picking cotton by hand. They all picked by machines. This machine right here will pick as much cotton in a day that would take me 300 or 400 days to pick.
Now, when the cotton is harvested, the tractors press the thousands of bolls into bales and modules. A bale of cotton weighs about 500 pounds, and each module is made up of about 13 to 15 bales. Once the module is formed, the farmer will cover it with a waterproof tarp and then store it in the field until it can be taken to a gin. A cotton gin removes the seeds from the cotton boll's fibers or lint. Removing the seeds from cotton was also once done by hand, but in 1793, Eli Whitney changed the American cotton industry and invented the cotton gin. Today, his basic design is still used in modern cotton gins. The seeds aren't thrown out once they are separated from the fibers. Agricultural companies use the seeds in livestock feed and crop fertilizers. We use cottonseed oil in our food as well. Manufacturers add cottonseed oil to shortening, salad dressings, crackers, potato chips, and even cookies. From the gin, the cotton fibers are taken to textile mills to be spun into thick yarns. The yarns and fibers are spun, woven, and dyed into clothing and household products. You can find cotton in almost everything that we wear, from blue jeans, t-shirts, and underwear to sweaters, suits, and jackets. One bale of cotton like this one can provide enough cotton cloth to make hundreds of things. In fact, one bale, or 500 pounds of cotton fibers, can be turned into 219 pairs of men's jeans. Cotton agents would often buy their bales and ship them to Mobile and New Orleans by using the waterways of the Tennessee River. For a short time, a small canal flowed from the big spring toward the river. But as the state and the country grew, the railroads grew as well and changed the way raw materials like cotton were shipped.
On Saturdays, the square was lined with mules and wagons, and we made a point of not going downtown on Saturdays because it was sort of the day that the commercial, took place, and cotton was commerce in those days.
As Huntsville grew as a commerce center, business leaders realized the benefit of building cotton mills locally, close to the farmers, instead of shipping it all the way across the state. A cotton mill turns raw cotton into thread and fabric. Working in a mill was tough. Sometimes both parents and even some children worked long hours to turn the raw cotton into thick ropes of yarn and long, flat sheets of cloth.
It taught me hard, sweaty work.
Mama went to work when she was 8 years old, worked in the mill and went to school, worked a half day at the mill and went to school a half day.
After long days inside the hot, stuffy mills, the workers' clothes and hair would be covered with cotton lint. Mill workers had a sense of humor and affectionately called each other lint heads. As the community grew between 1890 and 1940, more mills were built. The employees and their families lived in factory-owned neighborhoods. Each factory had its own community with an individual identity. These mill villages were complete with schools, parks, YMCAs, churches, and businesses. Each village was named after the mill it supported, like Lincoln, Lowe, and Merrimack. The mill village residents were loyal to their communities and their individual sports teams.
Well, when Merrimack and Dallas would play, or when Lincoln Dallas played, it was the biggest rivalry you ever saw. People would go over there, and they get real concerned about their ball team.
Later, the mills began to close. This change was due to the stock market crash, competition with foreign mills, unions, and World War II. The mills had flourished and had been important to family and community life. The mills are gone now, but there are many things around that still remind us of when they were here. The factories built many homes that are still here, and Lincoln Elementary School is part of our community. Now, here are the Our Huntsville kids with a review.
And now here's a look back at today's vocabulary. Cash crops, crops grown especially for sale.
Cotton boll, part of a cotton plant that contains cotton fiber.
Food crops, crops grown by farmers to consume.
Eli Whitney, the inventor of a cotton gin.
Slaves, people forced to work for free and owned by other people.
Mill village, a community built near a mill.
Cotton gin, a machine that removes the seeds from the cotton balls, fibers, or lint.
Factory, a building where products are made. And mill, a building where cotton was made into thread and fabric.
And now, back to our host, Tim.
Join us for our next lesson, when we'll show you how things like telephones and electricity changed the lives of the people who settled here. For Our Huntsville, I'm Tim Hall.